It is once again your tropical boy, Matt. I have been working on the Menswear Manifesto to the point where I have become physically nauseated multiple times looking at eBay, toggling between actives and solds, and looking at this Google Doc. I never want to see it again for the rest of my life. But as it is fresh in my mind now, I come to you bearing tidings of certain sales trends that I've noticed. I don't know if other people are talking about this or if I am simply a genius. But there's a couple things I wanted to put on your radar, stuff that's going on with the used men's clothing market. Number one is polo shirts and luxury brands are typically doing really, really well. This has been the case. They've been a good item. Typically, polo shirts, t-shirts especially, lower cost, entry-level garments in really expensive brands, luxury brands that are conspicuously branded tend to be the things that sell the best. Or stuff that people can generally afford but still feel like they're participating in the luxury brand, something like Gucci. So wallets, t-shirts, again, keychains, stuff like that is what sells. If you ever find t-shirts with like the big conspicuous logos and they're actually authentic, those are almost guaranteed to sell, and for decent money if it's a good brand. But polo shirts in most, I would say most luxury brands and even luxury adjacent brands, kind of luxury mimicking brands like Armani Exchange. I want to say Armani Exchange. Yeah, just checked the storied manifesto. Polo shirts are selling well in Armani Exchange. They're doing really great. There's a handful of brands where that's not the case, but they're luxury brands, so it's still worth picking up anyway. There's something going on there that I think is beyond just seasonality. Two, linen clothing, especially 100% linen, is picking up steam, and linen is usually one of the best things that you can sell during warm months, late spring, summer. Linen, 100% linen in a good brand, even in a not so good brand like fast fashion brands, Express, H&M, Uniqlo, 100% linen stuff will sell really well, especially actually, I don't know, this is a gut check. I'm kind of talking out of my ass a little bit here, but I believe that this is true. Pants, long pants, 100% linen pants are not that common. They're typically pretty expensive. And I would guess that they're all going to do pretty well. Probably 100% linen shorts as well, but you're most likely to find the button-up shirts. Be on the lookout for linen. It's not an unconditional purchase, but linen is doing well. Another, I guess, two trends, and I've talked about this in every iteration of the manifesto. It's been consistent across all of them. This has always been the case. As far as my own observation goes, there are two articles of clothing, three garments that are almost always the highest selling in terms of final sale price items in every brand. This is virtually unchallenged. This is almost always the case. Really nice shell jackets, especially made with Gore-Tex fabric, which is a waterproof fabric. Puffer jackets, Goose down puffer jackets especially. Vests do well too, but the long-sleeved jackets and leather jackets in the really, really nice brands. These three dominate the results when you search from, or sort rather, from highest sale price to lowest in a good brand. Those three will account for almost all the top sales on the first page. So that is a solid rule of thumb. If you find Gore-Tex jackets, at one time people were telling me that Gore-Tex was a zero risk. I've never confirmed that that is the case, but I can't deny it either. So have that in the back of your head. I know that one trick that people do, something that I used to do just to be cautious, is I would use waterproof as a euphemism in the title, and I would make a tiled thumbnail photo with the Gore-Tex logo really conspicuous in it, and you can use a few apps. I used to use Pic Collage, which was, I think, $3 and it worked really well. That's a little workaround. I think Gore-Tex probably pretty safe, but be advised there may be some kind of risk. Puffer jackets, down puffer jackets also. I've kind of talked this point to death, so sorry if I'm being redundant, but if it's 80% goose feathers or higher, that counts as goose down fill. And if the brand is even semi-okay, it's probably worth picking up. Even though we are going into summer, puffer jackets, puffer vests, goose fill stuff, just perennially worth crazy money. These are the things that sell for over $1,000 in pre-owned condition in certain brands. It's almost always the puffer jackets that are top dog above, often even leather jackets. And leather jackets are kind of a mixed bag because there's tons of brands that make leather jackets that are not worth picking up. They're not worth very much money, and they will sit and sit and sit, and they're big and bulky and heavy and a pain to ship. Not worth it. But if you find a leather jacket in a nice brand, then get it, because it'll probably be worth money. Okay, a big one, and I'm going to make a video specifically about this. I think I may make videos about all of this, going into more detail. I have noticed there are 3 major categories of menswear brands that are the strongest out of all of them. And of course, there are always exceptions. There's always outliers and everything. But these 3 categories are the ones that after I had gone through and copied over and done all the brands that I had already covered, I went back, circled back, and did a ton more digging on these niches because I noticed that consistently these are the ones with the high sell-through and the high sales prices, which is the combo that we're really going after. You want stuff that is in high demand that will bring you good profit margin when you do flip it. Those 3 categories are outdoor clothing, athleisure clothing, and upscale smart casual clothing. I think the first 2 are pretty self-explanatory. I think we know what those are. Smart casual might be less familiar to you. That's basically just office wear. Stuff like kind of slightly dressy everyday wear clothing that is visually plain. Think of J. Crew. That is the aesthetic of smart casual. Chinos, plain polo shirts, knitwear, plain sweaters, that kind of stuff. There are a ton of brands in each of these, so I'm not going to give you specific recommendations yet. I will say if you go into the top, if you just search top blank insert athleisure, the new neologism, athleisure, that is a real thing. Actually, I will talk about that. If you search for like best men's outdoor clothing brands 2023, you'll see the list. Most of them are going to be eligible for this. So outdoor clothing perpetually has been great. Probably my single favorite clothing brand, I guess now I must say, to have resold. And looking at the market for as long and as arduously as I have, I can say outdoor clothing probably the top niche outside of luxury clothing, which we almost never find. So outdoor is king, athleisure pretty close behind, and smart casual. This is a very promising niche because it's not as well known, I don't think, by resellers. Everybody knows Patagonia, everybody knows Lululemon. Not everybody knows necessarily, see, I don't even know one off the top of my head. Asket, A-S-K-E-T is the first one that pops up. 325% sell-through rate with a decent, healthy sales price and sale prices. So who knows Asket? I didn't even know it, Asket. Case in point, most brands in the smart casual niche are like that. They're not brands that the thrift stores are going to recognize to price up, and they're not brands that the majority of clothing resellers are going to naturally know about and may pass over if they are not diligently looking up each unfamiliar brand that they run across. So that, I think, is actually the most exciting niche. And I want to add +1 onto this big 3 Venn diagram, the 3-lobed Venn diagram. Oh, athleisure, I forgot, athleisure. So the point in the athleisure bit, I guess, is that there's a real observation there, which is that there's bleed over between those 3 categories because the smart casual clothing that sells really well tends to be performance fabric, smart casual clothing. So it's made with spandex content, polyester blends, and a lot of it actually organic material. And a lot of these brands dip their toes in each of those categories, and the lines can kind of blur. So athleisure or smart active, whatever you want to call it, they are kind of one big gob of brands that cross-pollinate. The plus one, the other one that I want to give a shout out to, is ritzy golf clothing, performance golf clothing with loud patterns. And there's a cluster of brands that fulfill this niche. The fun, the wacky, the crazy golf brands, they do awesome. And they're going to do specifically awesome this time of year right now. Spring and early summer, I would say, are probably the strongest part of the year for golf clothing. Winter, the sales dip pretty dramatically. You can still sell it, but right now the market is hot and red hot for these kinds of brands. So here's a handful of them, and there are more in the manifesto. Parsons Extreme Golf, or PXG, Rowback, a new brand that just made it in, Waggle, William Murray, and Bad Birdie. Brands like these, those are the standouts. Those are the ones that the sell-through is just astronomical, and you could sell polo shirts for 30, 40 bucks. What I mean by crazy, zany, wacky fun is really brightly colored with oftentimes graphics, repeating graphics all over print or pop culture stuff, cute, cartoony stuff, loud Hawaiian type shirts, mostly polo shirts. This is mostly a polo shirt thing. If you find that kind of a thing, probably worth picking up at the moment. And finally, we end on a downer, which is the dress shirt market appears to be stone dead. And dress shirts, I know, are seasonal. I never really sold them that much. I don't know a ton about dress shirts specifically. It's something that I am going to research more. I do know, if memory serves, I think early spring actually is the best time of year for them. Correct me if I am wrong. eBay no longer, it's less intuitive. It used to show you a sales graph for each niche over the course of the year, but not anymore. Anyway, dress shirts have always undersold other categories, especially of shirt. They've always been one of the slowest, most sluggish selling niches in men's clothing. But this is unaccounted for, I think, with like the basic explanations that come to mind, such as seasonality or whatever. I think the move, I don't know, this is pure speculation, but I would have to say the move towards work from home and the general preceding move away from formal office wear anyway before the pandemic has probably put a nail or two in the coffin of the dress shirt market. Also, I doubt that most men buy pre-owned dress shirts as a matter of course, because they tend to get worn into the ground. I think, again, I haven't worked in an office for a long time, but when I did, I only had a couple of dress shirts that I would wear, and then only when I had to, because I'm tropical Matt. But they get worn to death, and they tend to be really ratty. They wear out really quick. There's lots of wear on the collar points and inside. The collar gets all sweat stained, and the cuffs get all frayed up, and there'll be stains and missing buttons. So most guys, I think, buy dress shirts new, and also because they're buying a dress shirt because there's an expectation of a certain level of presentation. They want to look nice. So it makes sense that they would buy new. I have not looked into the new with tags dress shirt market on eBay. I might at some point. I would have to guess that it's probably stronger than the used market. Well, I can just verify this right now, can't I? I just took a shower, by the way. I'm not disgustingly sweaty. I'll be damned. So I ran the most generic possible search, just dress shirt in the men's clothing category. So take this with a big grain of salt, because this is a very, very general search, not accurate, or not precise rather, at all. The sell-through for pre-owned dress shirts in this little experiment is 21%, and for new with tags is 6%. So maybe there's a story there. Maybe there's something to be learned. And my intuition may have been incorrect. Regardless, dress shirts, exercise extreme caution when you source them. And there are brands that dress shirts are doing well in. I don't remember off the top of my head because my head is crammed full of 8 billion data points from doing this. But there are a small handful of brands where dress shirts are in high demand. There's a few more where they're in medium demand, but for the vast majority, they are not only low demand, they're the lowest demand category. Dress shirts are a big flashing yellow light, maybe an orange light, verging on red light. Of course, you can still make money selling dress shirts. There are still opportunities, lotting them up and getting them for cheap, and other sundry means and ways, but be careful. So I'm just putting the finishing touches on the manifesto. The actual research chunk is done in the can as of yesterday, after seemingly a lifetime of work. Just filling it out and making the graphics and putting it up on Gumroad, and then it'll be published and ready for you to consume. So I'll talk to you then, and thanks for hanging.